What if everything was stripped away? Your house, your phone, your clothes.
Jeff is a well-known survivalist.
8-time champion. Jeff Zausch. One survival skill that every American should master.
This is arguably my greatest success.
What a hell of an answer. Are you willing to die out there?
You have to be. When you are beaten down into the lowest moment, the word tap out, it's a dirty word.
Yes.
I feel more like a brother to him. You're in such a low, dark moment. I lunge at this rhino.
All that was left was your will to survive.
I'm the wilderness man. Nothing is as bad as if I were to say those two words.
This moment will live forever in my memory.
Wow,
I
man.
couldn't do it if it wasn't for my faith.
First shot of the day, baby.
He's here to talk about how men are forged, how hope is built in the
We
dark.
the people. Why you quiet? It's time to stand up for the truth. And they coming for our kids, so who gon' stand up for the youth? Ay, and we know we win because Yeshua is the proof. Ay, we the people like Garcia, so there's no excuse.
What if everything was stripped away? Your house, your phone, your clothes, even your safety net. And all that was left was your will to survive. No script, no crew, just raw instinct. That's where today's guest thrives. Jeff Zausch has stared down death, dehydration, predators, and the screaming silence of isolation. You know him from Naked and Afraid, where he's been dropped into the world's most brutal environments with nothing but a knife and a mindset. And he's an 8-time champion of the show's grueling challenge. But what makes Jeff different isn't just survival, it's why he survives. In a culture softening by the day, Jeff stands as proof that grit, faith, and purpose still mean something. He's never tapped out, not once. And today, he's not here to talk about television. He's here to talk about how men are forged, how hope is built in the dark, and what it means to pass on strength to the next generation. So buckle up, because this isn't just a conversation about survival. It's a battle cry for faith, family, and freedom in a world desperate for all three. Jeff, welcome to We the People.
Good to be with you, Gates. Thank you so much.
So my first observation is I'm thankful that you're clothed. You have your clothes on today.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
YouTube can be a little liberal with its rules, but we'd have to get creative if you weren't. So thanks for doing that, man. Look, I just want to sort of start by kind of building this foundation because millions know you from Naked and Afraid. You've been called the most successful survivalist in television history and probably beyond television. So I want to kind of start out with some red meat. What's the hardest situation you were ever put in on Naked and Afraid?
Oh, that's a good question. And a lot of people ask me, what am I scared of? They see me on TV and they see me, running from lions and leopards and all these things. And they think I'm not scared of anything. And that could not be farther from the truth. Okay. I get scared just like everyone else. And for me, I'm scared of the things I can't see. And no ghosts or anything like that. I'm scared of bacteria and viruses and illnesses. And those are the things that have reached out and really bit me. And so I think for me, the most difficult moment I've ever had through all my survival challenges across the world, it's got to be when I got bacterial meningitis in the Philippines. And that was rough. That was rough. Every day out there when you're surviving in the wild is survival. But most days you don't feel it. Most days you're pretty confident you're going to go to bed and wake up in the morning. When I had 105-degree fever in the Philippines and my head was splitting open with pain, I honestly, I could not say whether or not I was going to make it through it. And that one was rough. That was hard.
But you did make it through it. You made it through it 8 times, and you've done tons of other feats of survival. And we're going to sort of go through some elements that you rely on to get you through those moments. But I think it's important to sort of introduce the audience to Jeff before he was a survivalist, before the cameras turned on. So, you said that before all of this survival mindset types of things, you were forged in childhood. You had this unique relationship with your dad. He sort of shaped the man you are today. So can you just kind of back up before the camera started rolling and tell us where Jeff comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just in my mind, I'm just a normal dude, Gates, just a normal dude. I grew up in a small town in the mountains of Idaho, so I did have a rougher, tougher upbringing, where from the age of 6, 7 years old, I was having to wake up at 5 a.m. and go and feed the horses and busted up the ice in the water trough so the farm animals, had water to drink that morning in the winter and that kind of thing. So I was raised to play. I was raised to not shy away from pain. And I was raised to, go to church on Sundays and, help the nice old folks across the street, really quiet, like kind of old school type lifestyle. And it was good for me. It was real good for me. I grew a love for the mountains. So I not so much the farming. Okay? Like you would really have to talk man to get some more cows, but I grew a love for the mountains. And so when I was a kid, I remember every day after school, I would get my homework done as fast as I could so I could just go up into the mountains. And that's what my parents said. They said, you can go in the wilderness and just, come back before midnight type thing. And yeah, so for me, it was quiet, authentic, just an outdoorsman country type lifestyle.
To me, that's a childhood that many have sort of moved away from. We hear the term helicopter parents, and we sort of put a bubble of protection around our kids. And obviously, I'm a father of 3. We want to protect our kids, but we should just be the safety net. We should give them room to sort of fall and trip on their own and experience a childhood like you did, because obviously the results are speaking for themselves. And I bring that up because I think that sort of represents traditional Western American values. Now, the shows you're on are watched around the world. You have a global audience, but do you think that there's something uniquely American about pushing yourself to the edge like you do?
Oh yeah. No, and for me, I mean, I appreciate the intro. Okay, very nice intro. Undefeated. People have called me the best survivalist in TV history, but I'm not the best. I'm really not. I'm not the best survivalist. There's people out there that they're better at me in terms of skills, in terms of how they do their bushcraft and that kind of thing. But I think you're right when you say I'm the most successful. And that's ironic. Most people think they're the same thing. You don't have to be the best to be the most successful. And the reason is because you make up for it in mindset. That's what it is. Were we the best army in the 1700s? In 1776, were we the best army in the world? No, us Americans were not. We were carrying rusty muskets and pitchforks. But did we have more heart than any other army in the world at that time? Absolutely, we did. Absolutely. And so I look back 300 years, 250 years in the past, and I see those men, and I try to understand why and how. How did we beat the British? How did we earn our independence? And it was hard. It was resilience. It was the belief that we would win and the refusal to quit. And I have those things when I'm out there in the survival world.
Hey guys, it's Gates. Thanks for tuning in. I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the show. I hear that all the time when I watch and listen to podcasts. And now that I have a show, I know the difference that it makes. It really does boost us in the algorithm. And the better we do in the algorithm, the better guests we're going to get, the better content we're going to be able to produce. This show is not mine. It's yours. So in a way, you're helping yourself. So please like, share, and subscribe, and God bless. You took the words right out of my mouth. Before you use the analogy, I was going to follow up with that. I mean, the American Revolution is maybe the greatest underdog story of all time. And I love the dichotomy you draw between being the best at something and being the most successful at something. Best to me is sort of like an input, but success is an output. And there's a lot that goes on in between there. You're right. Our armed forces at that time were woefully physically underprepared, but the heart and the mind usually win if they're channeled in the right direction. And the American story defines that. Your story defines that. And so I want to sort of transfer into how that gets forged. I mean, we live in sort of a comfort crisis these days where, we have air conditioning if we need it. We have heating if we need it. We have a comfortable bed in to sleep at night. And people becoming more and more comfortable sort of deactivates their survival instincts. And going back to the earliest period of humanity, I mean, survival was all we had. There was no comfort. It was just finding the next meal, finding not comfortable environments, but livable environments, shade and rain and all that. So in this day and age, when many of us spend our lives trying to protect our families from hardship, your story shows that hardship can actually build strength. However, I want you to talk about that, but also the balance that you have to find in the life you live.
I think you said it well that most people now have their survival instincts turned off. They're in the bending mode, but we all have them. We all have these survival instincts, and I mean, if you think about it, our ancestors, they were the survivors. Each one of us is only here because we have great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers times 10, times 15, that they were the survivors. They did what they had to do to survive, and we're the result of that. And so we each have that survival instinct within us. And I think how mine got flipped on from a young age, it wasn't the mountains, it wasn't the waking up at 5 a.m. to feed the horses. None of that did it. For me, it was watching my father from a young age. And my dad, he was born with a deformed heart. And growing up throughout my life, he had 13 open heart surgeries throughout his lifetime. And it was a record at the time. Most people, they don't survive that many. Eventually you're not gonna survive one of those. So I grew up watching my dad constantly battle through just trying to stay alive, and I watched a man wake up every morning exhausted, in pain, but so grateful to see that sunrise, and watching this as a young boy, I think it tweaked something in my brain where I realized that life wasn't just given to us. Life has to be earned. And every day, every breath we live, it's something that we have to earn, something that we have to pay back. Really, they say life's a gift, and I agree, it is. But it's I think there's a prerequisite there to that we have to put more into life. And I watched my dad have to do that. If he didn't fight so hard, he never would have made it. He never would have survived. For me to even see me survive high school. And so in a way, what people see me doing on my survival challenges, fighting, putting in more effort, more heart, more of myself into these challenges. That's what my dad did and for his entire life. And I saw the result of it. And the result of it was survival. It was gratitude. It was faith. My dad walked with God every single day of his life, not because he went to church and he was the best, Catholic or Christian. It was because he was literally walking with God every day. I'm sure begging him at times to give him another day, another sunrise. So for me, when I see that, I understand that how fragile life is, and I don't take it for granted. So when I'm out there in the wilderness, when I see a storm coming, or when I feel the temperature dropping, that's not trivial. That's not a small thing. And so I prepare for that in a very real way. And my dad, to this day, he's my strength, watching that man and everything he overcame.
Yeah, so much comes to mind there. I think the first is perspective, right? Going back to this comfort crisis that we're living in, until you have exposed yourself to a stronger circumstance or a circumstance different from the one you live in, you can't appreciate, the other side of the coin. Because inevitably, it's going to come. I mean, crisis is going to come to your life one form or the other. For your dad, it was 13 heart surgeries. So if you have that perspective, you're more able to be prepared for when that situation arises. It's like working out a muscle. I mean, the more you work out, values are like muscles. You can say you have values, but until you put those values into practice and test them in real life circumstances, they're not valuable at all. They're just words on a piece of paper. I want to talk about the term tap out, because we know that term from sports, mostly from, UFC and things like that. Tapping out is a choice. You can get knocked out in a UFC fight, you can get choked out, but it's the fighter's choice to tap the mat or tap his competitor and sort of give up on the match. It's a choice. That's what I want to focus on here. You've never tapped out. You're famous for never tapping out. That doesn't exist with you. Why is that important to you? And not just as a brand, but as a man, because we sort of live in this masculinity crisis. And I think we need to sort of revive values, for lack of a better word, like grit and self-reliance. Why is never tapping out so important to you?
Man, just when you first said that word, it's for me, the word tap out, it's a dirty word. It's a dirty word. It almost, when you say it, it almost feels like you're cussing, like, oh man, like, I can't believe you just said that word. From my first challenge I ever did, okay, my first Naked and Afraid challenge, 12 years ago now, I did that challenge only 3 months after my dad passed. And so when I did that challenge in the deserts of Madagascar, I was out there, the sun beating down, 120 degrees, no water, dehydrated, thorns in my feet, all of these things. And I tell you, every second of that challenge, I was thinking about my dad. And just the thought of me tapping out, me quitting on that challenge, when I have to go 21 days, Gates, 21 days in that first challenge. My dad went 51 years through his suffering. Okay, 51 years. When that thought entered my head of how would I live with myself if I tapped out on a 21-day challenge. Now, to most people, 21 days is unbelievably long in the wilderness. They look at it and they're like, oh my goodness, that is, and now I'm doing 60-day long challenges. And most people are like, oh my gosh, that is so long. Every challenge I look at how my dad would look at it, right? And my dad would tell me, Steph, that's 2 months of your life. Okay, I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be the hardest 2 months of your life. But if you can't do 2 months without quitting something, what would that say about you? So for me, the word tap out is much, much bigger. If I tapped out on a challenge, I'm telling you this right now, there is no way I would be able to live with myself. I don't even know. I would fall into a deep, dark hole. It would be something. So no matter how hard it gets out there, if I'm covered in a million mosquitoes, if I'm shivering with hypothermia, nothing is as bad as if I were to say those 2 words, tap out. Nothing can be that bad.
So I had a follow-up question. I'm going to ask it a little. I'm going to add on to it. My question is essentially, what are the costs to all of this? You're a badass, and I admire to be as tough as you and to be able to do the things you do. All that's positive and glamorous, and motivating and inspiring. My question is, and was going to be, what are the costs to this? But I want to also ask you, are you willing to die out there?
You have to be. You have to be, because if you're not willing to die, then you're going to have a limit at which you reach and then you tap out. Because there's times, when I got bacterial meningitis, I was hit by a Category 5 typhoon in the Philippines. There's been moments of hypothermia. There's moments when you hit them and you don't know what's next. And if you're not willing to push through that wall, you'll never see what's on the other side. And usually what's on the other side is more strength from yourself. Sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's literally, the hand of Jesus pulling you up out of the mud sometimes. And whatever's beyond that wall, you have to push through it. But there are costs. When I went through meningitis, the doctors told me, once I got back to the US, I was in the ICU, and the doctors told me I had a 60% chance of death or just permanent lifelong disability. They said I could lose my sight, lose my hearing, lose my ability to walk. They said all three very common. And fortunately, I'm fairly normal. I lost about 40% of my hearing, 35% in most wavelengths in both ears. And so I can't hear things like sirens from police vehicles. I can't hear oven timers or that kind of thing. So I guess that's a cost, but I think the real cost is honestly up here. It changes the way I think. It changes the way I look at things. A little bit of PTSD from certain things, for sure. I mean, right now on my side table in my bedroom, I have probably 13, 14 water bottles that are just sitting next to my bedside because in my mind, not having water is one of the most terrifying things I could possibly think of from some of the experiences I've been through. So every night I grab a new fresh water bottle from the fridge and go and put it by the bedside, and they accumulate. And that's some type of comfort. There's comfort there knowing I have all this water right there, and it's definitely, it's not realistic. It's obviously I can look at that and say that's ridiculous, but yeah, it rewires my brain when I'm out there. And sometimes I'm in a constant state of survival. Sometimes I wake up at 2 a.m. to put another log on the fire, and then I realize I'm in my bed, in my bedroom, and there's no fire that needs to be fed. Things like that. So there's definitely a cost that comes with these, a long-term cost.
So that's fascinating. And I didn't have this question in my mind before the episode, but I'm going to ask it. In what ways do you live a different life than others? So you're not out surviving. You're in, let's just keep using the word, the comfort of your own home, or you're driving to the grocery store, or going to a movie. What's different about you than someone else? You see the world differently.
I think for me, when you're in the jungle, okay, you always have to think, what is the worst thing that can happen, and prepare for it. And then you go, okay, what's the next worst thing that could possibly happen? And you prepare for that. So I think in my everyday life, I'm constantly prepared for an insanely improbable but terrible thing to happen. For example, when I'm on an airplane flying somewhere, I'm prepared for that crazy guy to get up and try to open that emergency door mid-flight, and the things like that. And my mind cannot shut that off. And I'm not paranoid. Okay, nobody would ever know that I'm having these thoughts, that I'm secretly preparing for all of these things. But it's that survivalist in me. If you don't prepare for the worst, eventually the worst is going to happen to you, and you're going to be unprepared. So
I need to spend the day in society with you. I'll feel much better about myself and my surroundings. I'll be able to turn my own brain off. Now, something that's fascinating about you, and one of the things that really draws me to your story is you've been able to take this survivalist mindset and be unapologetic about your faith. We're going to talk about that. Be unapologetic about your love of America. I think it's because you have so much perspective of how bad things can be all around the world as someone that's been everywhere. But you're using that message to sort of inspire others, certainly a younger generation. You and I just spent 3 days at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit, and you spoke there very eloquently. You said the ability to see hope in darkness is the cornerstone of conservatism. Now, you were speaking to college students. How much of that hope do you believe comes from faith and prayer? And how do you maintain that mindset when you're cold, you're hungry, or sore during one of these survival challenges?
It's almost entirely faith. To be honest with you, it's almost entirely faith. It's when you are beaten down into the lowest moment you've ever been, where, I mean, just imagine you're in the Amazon jungle, covered in 1,000 mosquitoes. Mosquitoes so thick, it looks like you're wearing a black t-shirt because they're so thick you can't even see your own skin, right? Where you put your hand down and you rub down your arm and it just instantly turns red with blood from all the mosquitoes. And it's just, and the suffering, the anaphylactic shock that comes with that. It's you're in such a low, dark moment. I couldn't do it if it wasn't for my faith. I mean, there's moments where I say, God, take the wheel. I cannot do this. Like, as a man, I've reached my limit. I can't do this anymore. And God pulls me through those moments and has time and time again. And so when I do speak to a younger audience, I'm not just telling them from experience, oh, this is what happened to me. I know that this is a major tool for the younger generation, a major tool. They don't even know it yet, but when you reach your limit, God is always there, always there. Yes, sometimes he waits until the 11th hour, as we know, because he knows what we're capable of, and he's not going to come in at 2 p.m. and save us when he knows we have hours, left of the struggle. But he's always there, and he will be there when the time comes.
Were there moments in your survival challenges where, I'm going to go on both sides of the coin, where you really felt the presence of God, like almost sitting next to you, next to a fire, or where your faith was challenged, where you said, God, where are you? I need you here, and I don't feel your presence?
So ironically, I guess, it's the opposite of my faith being challenged when I'm out there. You would think that maybe so, being in the worst conditions, the most pain and suffering maybe I've ever felt in my life. I could understand how faith would maybe wave, but when I'm out there, I feel a spirit stronger than when I'm in church. It is unbelievable. I mean, it just telling you this now, I want to go back. I want to go out right now, because when I'm out there, I do feel the Spirit with me very, very close. And in fact, I pray more when I'm out there than I ever do at home. And that ashames me when I'm at home. I think, man, things are so good here. Sometimes I forget, right? Sometimes I forget to pray and ask for help and thank God for this and that. But when I'm out there, I'm thanking God for everything. I mean, when I'm walking through the mud and I come upon a snail, and I pull a snail up out of the mud and brush it off, instantly my mind is not, wow, this is going to be a great meal. The first thing I think is, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Every little thing is a gift out there, and a consequential gift. So when I'm out there, I feel God walking with me everywhere I go. Every step for 60 days.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because my impression is that it's easier to pray when things are good. More people are drawn to prayer of thanks than prayers of ask. And it's in those deepest, darkest moments that people sort of question prayer and does it work and are my prayers answered? And you actually are the opposite. You pray more in your darkest moments, and I think that's very motivating for our audience to hear. I'm wearing a sweatshirt that says God is good, and we have to remember the follow-on to that is God is good all the time. We just have to be able to recognize how his good is is manifesting in our life. And for you, sometimes it's a snail. Jeff, I don't know how vocal you want to be about this, but being on Naked and Afraid, how much did they let you demonstrate your faith? Or maybe of all the times you demonstrated your faith, how much of that made it onto the screen for the audience at home to see?
Well, more than I expected. I can say that, more than I expected, because it is Hollywood, right? And for years, we all know faith was not something that Hollywood was putting out in the mainstream. It just wasn't. In fact, it was hidden. And I assumed the same would happen with me. But from my very first challenge, my faith was shown to the viewers, at least on some level. And so, give credit where credit's due. They could have edited out all of my faith entirely, and they didn't, and I'm appreciative for that. I do understand that each episode has to be, 44 minutes with commercials, and so there's a lot that doesn't make it. I mean, there's been a lot of great animal kills I've had, and different things that haven't made the final episode. So I can't say for sure whether not including my faith was strategic or just they didn't have enough time. But as time goes, I wish more would be shown, because for me, that's the main story. For me, God's the main person in this challenge, and I'm just the sidekick. He's the hero, and I'm the one he's helping not to die. And that's how I view these challenges. And some people would say, "Oh, this is Naked and Afraid. Like you can't possibly be thinking about God and praying out there. This is a reality TV show." Maybe if I'll tell you the truth, maybe for the first 2 days, it feels like a reality TV show for me, because it's like, jumping out of the helicopter, taking my clothes off, meeting my partner. That all feels very TV. That feels weird. That feels, not normal. But after a couple days, I tell you what, I forget the cameras are even there. I forget there's even somebody, with a camera shooting long lens. I don't even, for me, it's then I'm on my own surviving. There, in my mind, there's no one else there. And maybe that's part of the reason why I've never tapped out, because for me, there's no crew there. There's no camera guy. There's no producer. That doesn't exist. It's me in the environment and God. And those are the only people out there for me. And so I wish they would show more. I wish they'd show more, because it's the main story. It's the main storyline. It's, I have people every day coming up to me like, "Jeff, you're so amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it when you finally took down that Impala," or, "I can't believe it when you survived that hurricane." And when I hear that, I'm thinking, well, I didn't deserve that credit. I really don't deserve credit for about 90% of things that happened to me out there. It was all God. It was all God, all of it. I asked him for everything that I've gotten out there, literally everything I have asked him for. And I can't think of one thing that I did on my own without asking for his help beforehand. And so to me, that's the real story.
Well, in a world where fame and virtue often feel divorced, certainly in Hollywood, I think you have married those two eloquently. I think it's because you had the virtue before you had the fame, and so fame was just sort of secondary to that. I do want to ask just kind of a fun couple spectator questions, because I remember when Naked and Afraid came out and I was glued to it. Are there like a bunch of camera people around? Do you interact with them? Do they talk to you? What's it like being on scene?
They try to make it as authentic as possible, meaning they're as small a crew as possible. So it's usually about 3 people, a camera guy, a sound guy, and a producer to help document. But they're not right up on us. They hang off in the distance. They walk in the shadows. They don't talk to us. We don't talk to them. They are told strictly they can't drink around us. They can't eat around us, because I could smell when I'm there on day 20, 30, 40, 50, I could smell a peanut butter sandwich from a mile away. I am dialed in. I'm a wolf out there. And so they can't eat, they can't drink, they can't do any of that around us. I might spear them if they tried.
I was literally
yeah,
going to ask if
so
they're
it's a
just sitting
small
there
crew,
eating
then they try
PB&Js.
to remain invisible. Yeah.
I was literally going to ask you if they're just like sitting over there munching on a PB&J. The other kind of, I guess, fun question or whatever is like, I mean, especially as a Christian man, I mean, what is it like walking up butt naked and meeting another woman for the first time in a forest?
It is as strange.
Is humbling? Is humbling the word?
Humbling is absolutely a word. Oh my goodness. It's as weird as you would imagine. Okay. It's as weird. Anybody out there listening, just imagine. Okay. Like, we've all been to the grocery store. Okay. Imagine driving to the grocery store today. You pull into your parking spot, you put the car in park, you turn off the key, and imagine then taking all your clothes off. Okay. Putting them down on the floorboard, opening your door, and just walking into the grocery store like it's a normal Tuesday. You know, that's exactly how it feels to me. And but strangely, it only feels that way for about 2 or 3 days at the most. Once the dehydration hits, once the starvation starts setting in, the thorns in our feet, all of these things, we completely forget that we're naked eventually. Completely, 100%. There's times that you don't even think about it for hours, if not maybe a full day goes by, and you don't even think about yourself being naked. And it is the strangest thing. It is the strangest thing that it happens that way. Like, I mean, there's some of my survival partners, I see them to this day, and I see them with clothes on, and I think, oh, that's weird. Like it's weird that they're wearing clothes. Man, it's a strange world. Yeah.
So one more serious one, and then I just want to have a couple of fun quick hitters. So, I mean, again, going back to the Turning Point event, you spoke to and inspired a young crowd. In your life, in your experience, I mean, what tools or what messages, what tools would you equip the younger generation with, or what would be your message to a younger generation of Americans, patriotic Americans that do love this country and want to see this country go in the right direction, continue on a trajectory that we've been on for most of 250 years? What would you say to them?
I think the first thing, without a doubt, don't run away from hard things. Don't shy away from doing hard things. Don't shy away from pain. Don't shy away from emotional trauma. We have a lot of the younger generation today making decisions based on fear. They're making decisions based off of, well, I'm not going to do this because I don't want this to happen. No. Don't make decisions based on what you don't want to happen. Make decisions based on what you do hope will happen. Well, walk forward with hope and optimism, and welcome hardship, welcome pain, because every challenge you go through, the more difficult it is, the stronger you're going to be on the other side. It's a gift. It's an absolute gift. When hard things happen to me, yes, the first thought is, oh man, like crap, this sucks. We all think that, right? We stub our toe. We get laid off from our job. Someone gets in a car accident, and they're in the hospital. These are terrible things, but they're challenges, and challenges are opportunities for growth and strength. And I know God sees them that way. I know it because He has put railroads in my path. He has put mountains in my path. And I think He's done it on purpose. I'm going to ask Him but I think He's done it on purpose for me, not to me, for me, because they're opportunities. And I know it's hard. Okay, it's not easy to look at the world the way that I'm saying we should look at it. It's not easy, but it's doable. It's possible. And when I'm out there in the jungle on day 50 of a 60-day survival challenge, I'm emaciated, starving, dehydrated, hungry. I'm suffering with infections in my feet. I think this way. And because it's been proven to me every single day, it's been proven to me. So the younger generation, don't not get married because you're afraid of getting divorced. married because you're hopeful it's going to last a lifetime. Okay. Don't not have children because you're afraid of paying the bills and afraid of not being able to afford them. Have children and hope that everything's going to turn out right. Okay. God wants us to look at the world this way. I know it does. And that to me is very American. That is very American. I've traveled to 50, 60 plus countries around the world, and it is uniquely American to be optimistic. Americans are the most optimistic culture I've ever seen in the world. And that's something we need to hold on to because we're losing it. We're starting to lose some of the optimism as a country. People are becoming more and more pessimistic. And so I say, do hard things, like, be okay with a few boo-boos, don't be afraid to fall and fail and fall on your face once in a while, but have hope that God has got your, because he does.
Man, I got chills. I have nothing to add, and I usually do. So thank you for saying all that. I mean, a lot of what you just said defines the message of this show. So it was beautiful to hear it said from you and the way you've said it. All right, so just a couple quick hitters to end with. Closest brush with death.
Closest brush with death. Well, everyone knows the meningitis story. So
okay.
So that was the closest invisible threat that I faced, but the other one's the exact opposite. It was rather large. So in Africa, we build shelters, but in Africa, there are no natural plants usually that can protect the rain, that can protect you from the rainwater. Everything there is very, very small leaves, because if they were big leaves, the heat, the sun of the African savannas would just cripple up the leaves. And so in Africa, there's no good vegetation to make a roof. So we don't make a roof. But we build protection from all the animals, because that's the real threat in Africa. It's not thunderstorms or hurricanes, it's the predators. So in Africa, we build what's called a boma. And it's about a 10-foot wall of thorns in a perfect circle around us. And we stay inside this boma at night because that's when all the predators come. The lions, the leopards, the hyenas especially. The hyenas aren't afraid of fire. So they'll come right in. They'll grab you by the head or the foot and yank you, out of your shelter. And so the thorns protect us from that. Well, there was one night. Oh man, I probably shouldn't even tell this. There was one night that I was sick and I had explosive diarrhea, and it was horrible and terrible. And this boma is our home, right? So like, I'm not going to, let loose in my living room. Okay. Like you're not going to go take a dump in your living room. I'm not going to poop in my boma if I can help it. So I leave the boma at night, which is something you never do. And, and I run off to some trees and I do my business. And then I'm walking back to the boma, and in the darkness, complete dark, all I can see is a glimmer, two little glimmers. And it almost looks like the moon shining off of the surface of a lake. But it's actually the moon shining off of two eyeballs in the darkness. And it's actually a black rhino, several 1,000-pound black rhinoceros staring me in the eyes in the dark. And black rhinos, if people that are listening have not encountered them, they are the most aggressive animal I have ever encountered in the wilderness. By far. I would much rather have seen a lion at that time. Much rather. And this rhino was just looking me in the eyes. And black rhinos, I've encountered them in the past where you see them from 100 yards away and they'll charge you. They'll charge you from 100 yards away and try to kill you. So I'm thinking, I'm absolutely dead. I'm absolutely dead. And so in a brief decision, I have to decide, what do I do here in this situation, right? Usually you would climb a tree And that's how you get away from them. There's no trees around me. There's no way I can get to one before it will trample me and kill me. So I have to decide what I'm going to do. And it clicks. It's like, I don't even remember deciding it, but I lunge at this rhino. I charge him he's like 6 feet away. I run 4 feet and just, yell in his face. And I probably should have died. I don't even know if I would recommend this. I probably should have died, but it span around, it kicked up dirt, and it took off running through the darkness. And I look back on that day, and that so easily could have went the other way. And I would say 95 times out of 100 it does. but yeah. So next time I'm pooping in my living room. Okay.
Good takeaway for our listeners. What's the biggest transformation your body's undergone on a survival challenge?
Usually it's always about the same. So I lose about an average of 1 pound a day by the time I get to the end. So on a 60-day challenge, I lose about 60 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
In the Philippines, I lost 65 pounds. Oh. And before I prepare for these challenges, I gain about 50.
Really?
But I didn't know that when I first started doing these long ones. So the first 40-day challenge we ever did in Colombia, I didn't gain that much weight. I gained maybe 10 or 15 pounds. And so I came out of that one weighing the same weight I did in 8th grade in junior high school. Wow. I weighed 134 pounds when I got done with that challenge. And I'm naturally sitting at, 180, 185. It's 134. I almost couldn't believe the scale when I stepped on it. And it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild what the body does, because as the body is starving, no matter how much food I get out there, I'm still in starvation mode. Because if you think about it, all I'm eating is meat, red meat, and maybe a couple vegetables, a couple fruits if I'm lucky. But basically it's the keto diet. Right. And so I'm losing weight nonstop, no matter how much meat I'm eating. And the body does interesting things where it prioritizes life and it shuts down, other bodily functions. So, for example, a lot of people come away from these challenges with real bad hormone effects. A lot of the people are on hormone replacement therapy and different things, especially the women, because the women are out there and, women's bodies, they're very different than ours. And so the women, they have to go through their time of the month and everything else while they're out there. And it really, really beats the body up. And so it's the weight is the thing that everyone sees, but there's things going on inside the body that you can't see that are just liver failure, for example. I was in liver failure after one of my challenges, and eyes start turning yellow, and it's just it's rough. It's rough. It gives me a real respect and appreciation for our ancestors, and my grandparents 1,000 years ago that survived in order for me to even be here. It's the wilderness. It's an amazing place, but it'll make you pay to survive there for sure.
Or you can only pick one survival skill that every American should master.
Prayer.
For sure. More than anything else by far. It's not even close.
What a hell of an answer. Enough said, man. All right. Well, let's assume we've prayed and the power grid went down tomorrow. What's the first thing you do?
Get out of the cities. Get out of the cities. Leave the cities. I know that what I do is primitive survival, but believe me, I spend way too many hours of my day thinking about scenarios just like this because my brain can't help it. And the cities, if the power grid goes down and something like that were to happen, the cities are going to be death, destruction, and horrible places. I think God will even maybe flee the cities. I mean, they're going to be that bad. So for me, the first place I'm going is the wilderness. somewhere I'm comfortable. For people that it's not obvious, the cities, people will turn against each other, unfortunately. And there will be looting, there will be riots, there will be murder, and everything else that comes with that, unfortunately. And I hope we never see that. We all think about it. It's natural. It's a human instinct to think, what if? I hope we never see something like that.
All right. So if the power grid goes down, I'm going with you. And lastly, people can go with you, Jeff. Tell people what you're up to now and how people can experience this world with you, and then tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
I love planet Earth so much. And travel has become a real passion of mine. So I've actually started my own adventure travel company where I take people with me personally, small groups of 8 to 10, and I take people on trips of a lifetime to remote, amazing places in the world. We're not going to be taking a beach vacation here. Okay, we're going to be going to places like Greenland, Antarctica, exploring the pyramids of Egypt. I'm taking a group to Mount Everest in the spring. No survival necessary for the majority of these trips. Okay, most trips you can wear your slippers and your robe at night and eat good food, and we do it a little bougie, but we do it in areas of the world where unfortunately most people don't get to go. So if you're adventurous like me and you want to partake of what planet Earth has to offer, check out the website padanova.com. And I'd love to join some more people on trips of a lifetime, because let me tell you, what is also very uniquely American, Gates, we work too hard. We work way too hard. Okay, there's people I know that work 7 days a week. They have a 7-day work week. God did not intend us to work our lives away. He didn't. He wants us to work hard, but he doesn't want us to work our lives away. And so I am a firm believer in seeing the world, getting out, and spending our money on experiences rather than things. Okay, we all need a home, we all need a car, but do we need 3? Do we need 4? Do we, you know what I mean? And so that's what I'm doing. I'm chasing experiences and I'm chasing memories. And so for the people that think similarly, I invite you to come with me. It'll be a heck of a good time.
Well, Jeff, we the people have survived our first adventure with you, and I hope it's the first of many. Continue to do what you do. Thanks for putting the Lord front and center and loving America, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Gates. Pleasure.
We the people. Why you quiet? It's time to stand up for the truth. And they coming for our kids, so who gon' stand up for the youth? Ay, and we know we win because Yeshua is the proof. Ay, we the people like Gates Garcia, so that's no excuse.